Hello, I'm Rosary Pursuit, and today we're studying the first chapter of Read Me or Rue It by Father Paulo Sullivan. Approval of His Eminence, the Cardinal Patriarch of Lisbon. Cardinal's Palace, Lisbon, March 4th, 1936. We approve and recommend, with all our heart, the beautiful little book, Read Me or Rue It, by EDM. These initials used by Father Sullivan stand for Ancient de Marie, that is, Child of Mary. Although small, it is destined to do great good among Catholics, many of whom are incredibly ignorant of the great doctrine of Purgatory. As a consequence, they do little or nothing to avoid it themselves, and little to help the poor souls who are suffering there so intensely, waiting for the masses and prayers which should be offered for them. It is our earnest desire that every Catholic should read this little book and spread it about as widely as possible. Forward. Read Me or Rue It. This title is somewhat startling, yet, dear reader, if you peruse this little book, you will see for yourself how well deserved it is. The book tells us how to save ourselves, and how to save others from untold suffering. Some books are good and may be read with profit. Others are better and should be read without fail. There are, however, books of such sterling worth by reason of the counsels they suggest, the conviction they carry with them, the urge to action they give us, that it would be sheer folly not to read them. Read Me or Rue It belongs to this class. It is for your best interest, dear friend, to read it and reread it, to ponder well and deeply on its contents. You will never regret it. Rather, great and poignant will be your regret if you fail to study its few but pregnant pages. Help, help, they suffer so much. We can never understand too clearly that every alms, small or great, which we give to the poor, we give to God. He accepts it and rewards it as given to himself. Therefore, all we do for the holy souls, God accepts as done to himself. It is as if we had relieved or released him from purgatory. What a thought! How he will repay us. As there is no hunger, no thirst, no poverty, no need, no pain, no suffering to compare with what the souls in purgatory endure, so there is no alms more deserving, none more pleasing to God, none more meritorious for us than the alms, the prayers, the masses we give to the holy souls. It is, very possibly, that some of our own nearest and dearest ones are still suffering the excruciating pain of purgatory and calling on us piteously for help and relief. Is it not dreadful that we are so hardened as to not think more about them, that we are so cruel as to deliberately forget them? For the dear Christ's sake, let us do all, but all we can for them. For every Catholic ought to join the association of the holy souls. Purgatory. Have pity on me, have pity on me, at least you, my friends, because the hand of the Lord hath touched me. Job, chapter 19, verse 21. This is the touching prayer that the poor souls in purgatory address to their friends on earth, begging, imploring their help in accents of the deepest anguish. Alas, many are deaf to their prayers. It is incomprehensible how some Catholics, even those who are otherwise devout, shamefully neglect the souls in purgatory. It would almost seem that they do not believe in purgatory. Certain it is that their ideas on the subject are very hazy. Days and weeks and months pass without their having a mass said for the holy souls. Seldom, too, do they hear mass for them. Seldom do they pray for them. Seldom do they think of them. Whilst they are enjoying the fullness of health and happiness, busy with their work, engrossed with their amusements. The poor souls are suffering unutterable agonies on their beds of flame. What is the cause of this awful callousness? Ignorance, gross, inexplicable ignorance. People do not realize what purgatory is. They have no conception of its dreadful pains, and they have no idea of the long years that souls are detained in these awful fires. As a result, they take little to no care to avoid purgatory themselves, and worse still, they cruelly neglect the poor souls who are already there, and who depend entirely on them for help. Dear reader, peruse this little book with care, and you will bless the day that it fell into your hands. Chapter 1. What is Purgatory? It is a prison of fire in which nearly all saved souls are plunged after death, and in which they suffer the intensest pain. Here is what the great doctors of the Church tell us of purgatory. So grievous is this suffering that 1 minute in this awful fire seems like a century. St. Thomas Aquinas, the prince of theologians, says that the fire of purgatory is equal in intensity to the fire of hell, and that the slightest contact with it is more dreadful than all the possible sufferings of this earth. St. Augustine, the greatest of the holy doctors, teaches that to be purified of their previous faults prior to being admitted to heaven, souls after death are subjected to a fire more penetrating, more dreadful than anything we can see or feel or conceive in this life. Though this fire is destined to cleanse and purify the soul, adds the holy doctor, still it is more acute than anything we could possibly endure on earth. Saint Cyril of Alexandria does not hesitate to say that it would be preferable to suffer all the possible torments of earth until the judgment day than to pass 1 day in purgatory. Another great saint says, "Our fire, in comparison with the fire of purgatory, is as a refreshing breeze." The other holy writers speak in identical terms of this awful fire. How comes it that the pains of purgatory are so severe? The fire we see on earth was made by the goodness of God for our comfort and well-being. Still, when used as a torment, it is the most dreadful one we can imagine. The fire of purgatory, on the contrary, was made by the justice of God to punish and purify us, and is, therefore, incomparably more severe. Our fire, at most, burns this gross body of ours, made of clay, whereas the fire of purgatory acts on the spiritual soul, which is unspeakably more sensitive to pain. The more intense our fire is, more speedily it destroys its victim, who therefore ceases to suffer, whereas the fire of purgatory inflicts the keenest, most violent pain, but never kills the soul, nor lessens its sensibility. Unsurpassingly severe as is the fire of purgatory, the pain of loss or separation from God which the souls suffer also in purgatory is far more severe. The soul separated from the body craves with all the intensity of its spiritual nature for God. It is consumed with an intense desire to fly to Him, yet it is held back. No words can describe the anguish of this unsatisfied craving. What madness, therefore, it is for intelligent beings to neglect taking every possible precaution to avoid such a dreadful fate. It is puerile to say that it cannot be so, that we cannot understand it, that it is better not to think or speak of it. The fact remains always the same, whether we believe it or whether we do not, that the pains of purgatory are beyond everything we can imagine or conceive. These are the words of St. Augustine. Alright, so that was the first chapter. I was intending on reading something a little bit of a brighter topic, considering the last one was on the 12 degrees of humility and pride. But this is what I ended up doing. I'm not sure how correct I am, but I don't believe I'm incorrect, but I personally subscribe to a different school of thought when it comes to purgatory. It is my opinion that those who suffer in purgatory are suffering not only from separation from God, but also the torments necessary to remove their vices. So take a near-perfect man whose only fault is that he has difficulty waiting for good things. So for example, he's in a line and he's tapping his foot impatiently. Aside from this man theoretically is perfect in all things. So in purgatory, his file, quote unquote, would be simply to sit still and wait for the moment that he is allowed to see God, for the moment that he develops the virtue of being able to wait. Perhaps I'm a bit wrong. I very well may be. But that's what I personally think of purgatory as. And as the spirit is essentially a combination of our intellect, our thoughts, and our mind, as well as our will, that is, our ability to make a decision based on our thoughts. The idea of the keenness of the flames is quite conceivable when you think about it in such a way. Imagine a dream, a nightmare that you can't wake up from, a nightmare of which you suffer these torments. It's not bodily, but rather mentally. It's a thing to think about, a way to perceive hell. Perhaps not entirely correct, but that is how it is when trying to describe the spiritual life, when we are disconnected from our bodies. Okay, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. If you enjoyed the book, there's a link to the playlist in the description below. That's all, and may God bless.